Tak.
To może wywalimy...
A to my jesteśmy jak w kościele, tak? Dziewczynki i chłopcy.
Który fotel mamy? No bo w organizatorze, który fotel mamy?
Ten mamy, ten jest niepotrzebny.
Tamten, dobrze.
Ale
Czekaj, wyśniemy go. Ja wezmę drugi.
że dziewczynki nie są chłopcami.
Jest okej, czy dalej wystawić?
W ogóle lepsze. Ale to dziewczyny przydzielamy jakąś dziewczynę? Przydzielamy dziewczynę?
Tak, przydzielamy dziewczynę.
To się ustawcie bardziej tak.
Moja prawka, weźmy karetkę z transmisji.
Tak jest dobrze?
Okej. Jest wasze. Zwłaszcza żużlu. No właśnie. Zawsze w lewo. Robione tak. Rubryka w sporcie katolickim.
Dzień dobry, Marzena Błaszczyk,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Marzena Błaszczyk, Civic Network. Welcome to Agora's registered seat, as well as those who are watching us online. This is the second day of the first SLAP-focused conference. Today, our proceedings are held in Polish because Poland is the hero of today's conversations. We are going to discuss SLAP and financial sources for SLAPs. We are going to look at the work of local journalists, and at the end of the day, we'll spare a thought, thinking about what to do to change the law efficiently so that journalists, activists, human rights defenders, and other people are defended against SLAP. We'll discuss SLAP in Poland, experiences of journalists, and what was happening in the recent months, and people who are critical towards those who wield power, who are big figures. So the guests, Agnieszka Jędrzejczyk, Okopres journalist, the author of Na celowniku, the Eyesight reportage series of reports on SLAPs in Poland 2023. The Pen of Hope was the award presented to Agnieszka. Before that, Agnieszka Jędrzejczyk worked at Poland's Ombudsman's office. Welcome to Wojciech Cieśla, the president and the founder of Fundacja Reporterów, Reporters Foundation. Wojciech is the reporter, the editor-in-chief of Reporter and Story. For 25 years, he's been the journalist working with different editorial offices. He's a member of International Journalist Collective, Investigative Europe. Welcome to Brigida Grysiak, deputy editor-in-chief in TVN24 for standards and good practices in the Department of Newsroom. Ever since the beginning of this broadcast, she's been a part of it. She was a reporter, anchor, host, laureate of many awards and accolades, the book author. Roman Imielski, Gazeta Wyborcza deputy editor-in-chief, previous head of political and foreign departments, secretary, editor-in-chief of Wyborcza.pl, commentator of Polish and international affairs. Let me start our discussion let me start by asking a question. Have you ever encountered legal activities that can be described as SLAPs? Many? How it impacts your work? Mr. Imielski is the first one to answer the question. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I'd like to thank for your coming here despite early time. And many thanks to my colleagues from our legal department, Piotr Rogowski, Agnieszka Całka, Ania Mankowska. We were inopportune to have law and justice in power, so they were titans in their legal work. Piotr Rogowski is Poland's best specialist in protection of personal rights and media laws. You can confirm it because we were fighting and we won many court cases in the recent years. It was a real labor and toil. I'd like to thank all of you because we worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day on numerous occasions. Why? Because we were the main slap target. Past 2015, there was a number of court cases, slaps, 131, motions filed, many of them finished. 99% we won in court. Sometimes we reached the Supreme Court of the Republic of Poland. Some of them continue. So I'd like to appeal to the coalition of 15th of October. Some slaps were filed on the name of public institutions and ministries to discontinue. This is absurdity. This is a slap. Minister of Justice Adam Bodnar is the biggest slapper because he has inherited all the slaps from Zbigniew Ziobro and his supporters. We expected to see the slap campaign, but never before have we believed this to be such a great. Previous head of broadcasting board, Mr. Świrski, I'm not judging whether he's the right person. The answer is right. In 2015, before Law and Justice won, he joined the Ronin Club meeting. Some of you know them. Right-wingers and conservative people meet there. And before elections, he said a very simple thing. If Law and Justice wins, media, independent media should be targeted, because they'll be criticizing those in power. Because, being a watchdog is our main job. So the media should be deprived of any finances from public state-owned companies, ministries, and similar. A simple decision. The first decision of Beata Szydło's government, the political one, against all the rules and regulations of free market. And the second thing Maciej Świrski presented, independent media were under the avalanche of court cases. They were sued. Any critical text published past 2015, anything about people in the ruling party, brought about legal action. Some of them to protect personal rights, but PIS found another method to be even more efficient, sometimes requesting for clarification. If they discharge it, they bring legal action in a court of law. And the National Prosecutor's Office was involved. They are to defend the state assets, not to bring legal actions against journalists. In cases of protection of personal rights, they are lengthy. If this is the prosecutor's office, this is a speedy proceeding. So critical text against Zbigniew Ziobro, an absurdity, absurd request to have the correction or explanation or dementi And there were 4 of them, like Zbigniew Ziobro, a natural person. Second, the office of the Minister of Justice, then the General Prosecutor Zbigniew Ziobro, and the 4th one, the institution, the Ministry of Justice. They were identical, the same legal office, Zaborowski and Kopiec. They made copy-paste, and they made this way to earn money. Ziobro didn't pay from his own money. He didn't have to shell it out. And correction requests from Minister Gliński, who produced an avalanche of things. And one of them was comical. We didn't publish this because Minister Gliński reacted to the text. Because there was different politicians from different parties at Robert Mazurek's birthday. PIS and coalition politicians were involved in small talking. Paweł Wroński, Minister of Foreign Affairs, wrote a comment, and he used the word fraternity. And Piotr Gliński cherry-picked this word, and he filed in the official disclaimer or dementi that they do not fraternize. No, there's no fraternity with left wing of PO, Civic Platform. And he used a dictionary to show that the difference was meaning. It was a manifesto to show off in front of the head of the ruling party, Mr. Kaczyński. So this kind of dementi or clarification was absurd. So the system had been created before Law and Justice took power. It was quite useful in pestering media, and public money was employed for the purpose. Zaborowski and Kopiec. Not only did they provide services for Ministry of Justice, but also they had Orlen services contract. Daniel Obajtek was the hero of our text, so there was another avalanche of flood of court actions. So there was legal action brought against Gazeta Wyborcza, 138. How much time it takes to respond? Many hours in court cases. So this little team of Piotr Rogowski was fighting to dispel these requests for dementi or clarification. Gazeta Wyborcza, they had open shield. There was a package photo with different kind of summons or writs. So when we look at what is happening in Poland, this is just a fraction of reality. So many things we don't know about, and a question to Brigida. TVN24, did you face it? What was your perspective? Of course. And there was a kind of pattern that Roman was speaking about. It is a repeatable, so it's a systemic thing. So this is what we are discussing. We were discussing it further off stage before the panel. And European statistics diverge from what we have in Poland. 128 slabs over 12 years. It's completely different to what we are discussing here, what Roman said. In Gazeta Wyborcza you had 138. Yes, indeed. And I would support Roman saying not only lawyers worked hard, but this is the editorial team's hard work. We have lawsuits in plethora, fast, absurd complaints. and the broadcasting board sends over these claims from viewers. It was the board to decide about stories, and they shift it, they give it to us. We are to explain, we need to qualify and respond. So this kind of notion, complaint, request for dementi or clarification starts a big machine. So a journalist should do their job. They have to view, analyze, explain their motivations, show facts, and it is absurdity. A viewer complains because there is a kind of program and there is a missing person saying that the crisis is not human-made. We need to stick to facts and figures. So there was no need. So they should be. We should be fined because the viewer expects a fine, and the fine should be retrieved if there is a debate this person wants. We got this kind of letter, and the letter starts this kind of machine, legal in-house work. We devote lots of money and time to respond to this, and every year we had about 100 of complaints of this type. So you can imagine the workload for the editorial team. And similar clarification requests. What Romek mentioned is important. There are short deadlines. So there are fewer ones, but clarification requests from Ministry of Justice and Zbigniew Ziobro, a natural person, analogous notions with different signatures, and Orlen and Mr. Obajtek. The same content, but different signatures and targeted at different people. Editor-in-chief of TVN, editor-in-chief of the portal, of the TVN24, so it multiplies our job. So which way we go? So we need to realize about the scale. If we do not make people realize, those in power, we won't advance, because you need to be loud and clear, because it's democracy spoiler. It destroys the process of creating civic society, and it's against the public interest. So we are all in together, slap here and slap there. It shouldn't go unpunished. It shouldn't be systemic. It shouldn't be just a motivation to put a muzzle on media, to call the chilling effect. Don't write, don't look, don't publish. It's even more serious. It is staunching of press criticism. You are showing the scale of this phenomenon, so there is a chilling effect, even for big editorial houses. So the question goes to a smaller one, Reporters Foundation. They are also into investigative journalism, so there is a challenge of multi-month procedures, investigations, fact-checking. I am a subject of these activities, of course. I'm the first one to grab the microphone. Some organizations are smaller than TVN and Gazeta Wyborcza Daily. Oko Press and Reporters Foundation. And there are people who are journalists with less capital. When we have 130 requests for clarification, it's problematic, you can fight with this. And there is a request for 400,000 to Reporters Foundation. And our heroes try to appropriate my own flat. The situation is more serious. I'm speaking about this because the big ones and the small ones are in danger and have to face this kind of litigation. They are requested for corrections, and courts are happy to bug you and eavesdrop for you and request correction. So it happens very often. So somebody may say that they need a correction, that they are not an alien, and the court says you need to publish it. So you need to oppose their attempts to intimidate journalists. Adam Hoffman, who was a blue-eyed boy of Law and Justice, and he informed his students, chilling effect, lie, tell what is not true. It's been happening. So there is a practical shield that we can employ. This practical shield for us, the small ones. Fact-checking department. This is what we do. Before anything is published, we publish text mainly. This is why I'm using the word text. It undergoes long and painful paths of fact-checking. And we are a member of OCCRP, based in Sarajevo. They have fact-checking procedures, global level. It does not give the guarantee that we are not sued, but when we land in a court of law, we win. And court cases take years in Poland. Before you file a motion and get a court ruling, there is 3 or 4 times lapsing. When you are sued, you need to be supported by legal services for the whole time of the procedure. So the big ones and the small ones should have the eye for details, should take care of details. They should have fact-checking department. Not only in investigative stories is it help, but investigative journalist is our cup of tea. But it helps with every story that you write about. It's a kind of immune system that you instill. If you were to speak about the scale, 138 cases in TVN, something around 100. So let me add on that. We're very happy to discuss it, that we are here, that we start talking. This is the interference into the system of journalists, because the system drags them into never-ending court cases and requests for clarifications. I have 25 years of experience. In the past, people didn't speak about it. They were ashamed when they were requested for correction or involved in litigation. Nobody mentioned it, that there were 3 or 4 summons. But now it's a part of reality. Nice that we started talking about this, but it didn't happen over 8 years. It's always been there. Journalists have always been sued. And I'm a veteran who spent a lot of time in court rooms, being a witness, the respondent, claimant, defendant. But the attitude is important. They haven't spoken about this until now. They speak now.
Doprecyzowując,
Just to be more specific, the number 100 applied to the complaints submitted by our viewers for clarification of the National Broadcasting Council. There are fewer litigations. The chilling effect you have mentioned works only temporarily. We chill our activity and we clarify. We also know that it doesn't really work when we get the request for correction from Daniel Obajtek, Zbigniew Ziobro will abandon certain topics. The key aspect is that we assume that such litigation might be issued, that there will be some requests for corrections, and we are ready. There are also some documentaries by Piotr Świerczek. We have a separate team dealing with standards and good practices. I became the head of this team 5 years ago because we were fully aware that was the time where we need to be even more careful about procedures, details, standards, and facts, simply speaking. We prepare these features knowing that a kind of collision can be expected. All right. I would like to ask a question to Agnieszka. Agnieszka is the author of Na celowniku interviews with activists. They participated in various protests and activities in the last years. Our state and police were acting against these people, and it bears some notions of preventing public participation. Yes, we decided to interview people who were not able to talk about it because they were afraid that something wrong might happen. What we heard sends shivers down our spines. Since autumn 2017, we have had a mass process against civic society members. They are not qualified as slaps. Well, if it's only a misdemeanor and 200 zloty should be paid, it's almost nothing in a big city. But the activists had sometimes dozens of such litigations. As we heard yesterday, there are slaps accompanied by other forms of exerting pressure. These were police attacks during demonstrations. Prosecutor's office was very active in order to make these allegations more serious. Sanepid, the sanitary office, was also involved to impose even higher fines. Slaps and hate were triggered. It was quite specific. The information that was used was related to some state affairs, including personal data from staff files and also medical records. I'm sure you remember Magdalena Phoenix, the MP's case. She had some litigations and then haters attacks. There was a case of a pedophile lawsuit. It turned out that it was Magdalena Felix's son who was the victim, and the boy committed the suicide. There was no need to employ expensive lawyers or law offices. The state used police and similar forces. It was a coordinated lawsuit. In our case as well. According to the information I have collected, I have learned that it was not an order, but a kind of recommendation that people willing to be kind to the ruling authority, to the power, wanted to do. It was not the case that the state said stop, it's not right, but after a month, the victims became the focus of the attention. They said, all of a sudden, police visits me, my media profiles are attacked, my neighbors tell me that I'm a wrong person. That's disastrous. There were some waves of police trends all over Poland. For example, some inscriptions on the walls and pavements were punished, and with no chronological correlation, in autumn 2021, females were attacked for the slogan, "Fuck Law and Justice." That was also the moment when a young woman was protesting against leaving the European Union, and she was sued for using curse words. And she said, okay, but that's a different paragraph. 63A is the right one, which applies here. It's critical that these actions are coordinated, but started only in 2017, the second year of the right-wing party's rule in Poland. Why autumn 2017? I tried to investigate. That was the moment when protests defending the courts alleviated. Since the ruling party had the majority in the Polish parliament, it was possible to somehow relieve the protest, but that was exactly the moment when Pegasus was purchased. It became clear to me only after some time. Attacking people in such a way, even though this is not a classical lawsuit, classical litigation, causes a severe chilling effect. Many people participating in the public debate decided to withdraw. These people decided to abandon their activities. They couldn't face the pressure, because pressure was also exerted on their families. For Poland, it was pivotal that a few percent decided to persist. Should I tell it now or later on about the consequences? When the state decided to attack the activists, previously they had been media that they were attacked. In order to organize a small protest or event in a small town, in a village, you have to organize it, inform the media, create social media network. People learned how to do it, establish contacts with lawyers. That was the time when lawyers were also quite well organized. The leaders are people who couldn't hope for the authorities' help, got the assistance of a lawyer. The lawyers were there giving their business cards and saying, we are here for you. But these people who were protesting didn't know why. When attacks started, people learned that they need to go to court, that they need to object. And they quickly learned how to write such objections. It's amazing how quickly people learned how to write such documents. Another discovery is that the key moment for the civic movement was Putin's attack on Ukraine. It was when people fled from Ukraine to Poland. Poland responded with solidarity, with emotions, and helped refugees. According to our analysis and interviews, it turns out it's not true. These were civic networks. People knew immediately how to do it. They used to open their charts in Google. It was Google Sheet, and people could join the initiatives. Social trust was high. Then people were sharing their data, declaring how many people they can take home. After 2 or 3 days, local authorities decided to join. People wanted to go to such meetings, and they could see police officers. Polish Slavs are not instigated by people wearing sophisticated suits, expensive suits. But these are people who, they know the services wanted to come back to the right path. They were very happy they could do something positive finally. Civic networks wanted to recognize the issue. Polish slap was possible because people knew it was not really negative, but also not positive. People were working for the radio with some negative emotions being disseminated. I could hear some police people explaining that it was their superiors' orders. These people didn't break the law, but en masse they created space for slaps. Polish activists,
Tworzą teraz przestrzeń do tego, żeby ci ludzie mogli zrobić coś.
and now people want to do something to be proud of as citizens. They educate meetings, they organize meetings to educate others. They can invite schools, municipal centers, and the police. The police is proud to participate. People who will take photos in front of Justitia banner will not be punished. These are thousands of litigations and cases, but not everywhere. We need to prevent slaps against activists so that it does not cause a chilling effect. The question is why in the majority of Poland it didn't work. I learned there were plenty of people who said no, we wouldn't participate in it. They included police officers, prosecutors, people who could do it but decided not to. Most likely they are the ones who know how to block the procedure in future as it might reoccur. All right, I would like to ask you whether slaps are a systemic problem and what can be done about it. According to what Agnieszka has just mentioned, such protection is possible if civic society is powerful, if individuals are courageous and can contradict their superiors or some allegations, recommendations or orders which are not explicit but rather suggested. The question is, what can we do? How can we prevent it? We have a new directive published last year. At the beginning of April, the Council of Europe issued its recommendation that is broader than the directive. Does it offer any hope from your perspective? What should we change in order to be resilient to slaps? Well, I can say there are hopes owing to European activities, but we need to remember the difference between slaps in the Western Europe versus those we had in Poland. Slaps are used against social activists by rich companies. In Poland, it was a systemic process using public money and public media to contribute to the process. We were attacked through litigations verbally by public media, state media. We were accused of being traitors against the Polish nation. There were such allegations. As for Adam Michnik's origin, Polish law requires changes. We need to offer good education also among journalists. Journalists in major media used to say, right, I'm writing another feature and litigation will soon follow. However, we should get rid of Article 212 concerning the defamation. It can trigger 1 year of imprisonment. It was very often used by Law and Justice to harass specific journalists by subsidiary litigations. Adam Hoffman already mentioned instigated some indictments against Jacek Arłukowicz. There was also a case during Law and Justice rule. It applied to Okopres, me and Wojtek Cieśla. We created a group of journalists representing 3 editorial offices, and we called some investigations called Układy Wrocławskie. It applied to Adam Hoffman, Dawid Jackiewicz, and Adam Burak. Before publishing the first feature, we sent a long list of questions to Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Petrushin. It was a list of questions before publication. Not only hadn't we received any answers, but Art for Us reported an alleged crime committed by journalists, that the purpose of the feature that has not been published yet will be to defame the company. They were withdrawn after Law and Justice failed in the election. However, these were really strange situations. Getting rid of Article 212, all political parties are for eliminating it, though it was used quite often by Law and Justice. Correction as an institution. It is not the case of journalists saying we were wrong, but simply clarifying the case. We had some cases when the court decided this correction is not true, but the party has the right to present even something that is not true. It requires some efforts on the side of the Ministry of Justice on how to approach SLAPs. There were judges saying that's the 4th litigation concerning the same case against Gazeta Wyborcza. It's harassment of the editorial's office and the journalists. But we definitely need a kind of legal solution, or the code of administrative procedure. I don't know which code it should be inscribed in, but to treat SLAPs as a form of harassment. The European directive and guidelines are the first step towards it. However, we need to be aware, quoting a lawyer, that we can have the greatest regulations, but if criminals rule us, this is like non-est. That was the case when the Law and Justice was ruling Poland. The period of 2015-2020, despite the terrible SLAP case, it made us harder, more immune. Smaller media, which are in a more challenging situations, as it's easier to harass them and it's easier to silence them, we still managed to demonstrate that we can cope with it and we cannot be threatened. It's important for the Polish legal system to say that there are no SLAPs. Well, I mean, there is no such terminology, no such notion, which jeopardizes the whole concept, but that's only the beginning of our discussion, and the meeting like ours only initiates the path to follow. I'm very happy we've been discussing it. It seems that a good remedy would be fact-checking before publishing in a detailed way. We can commit a mistake, even concerning minor details, and then the whole situation goes against the publisher and the journalist. The way to prevent harassment is to have a kind of insurance, and this is what we journalists do.
It's easy to put us behind the bars. The litigation sum, like 10 millions, is enough. So we go bankrupt and pack our bags. But there are reporter sheets and similar. Any editorial team can buy it. So it's bearable even for small media houses, like Reporters Foundation. And it's a kind of insurance, a security. It takes 5 years. So we are financially secured against consequences. Is there a systemic way? So Polish political class has got this habit. If a journalist writes something critical against politicians, a journalist is sued, and they go to the president of the party and they say, it's not true, I sue them. They know that the court proceedings will take 4 years. Nobody will remember at the end of the day what happened. It will be old-time story. But it works. We have to pay for lawyers. We have to respond to writs. Few people know it. Those who have not done it before. Article 212 that Roman was speaking about, the penal code case. So the respondent should be every time in a court case. So imagine a journalist, 3 cases of this kind. They sit all the time in the court of law without earning money, because they are supposed to. Systemic version. I don't know how to do it. It's good to have the word slap in discussions. That's it. Thank you. 212, the correction institution. So there is legal responsibility of people who are malicious. Malicious prosecution is the American name. They sue people, and this writ is ungrounded, just to intimidate, to make it difficult to carry out activity, to staunch criticism, to staunch press criticism. So it's a question mark for me, and a trap at the same time. Because if there is an injunction at the end of the process, somebody may claim damages, and we are in court of law for years. If it was ungrounded, now of course this is lawyers' work, but you know, it takes time, it's time consuming. The broadcasting board, we had Professor Kowalski here, and his suggestion that some of the activities that might be believed as slaps, not in the court proceeding case, or censorship, they criticize. Professor Kowalski says, you know, you cannot do it, you cannot decide single-handedly, deciding about the level of fine and execute the fine, because it's outside any kind of legal order. And foreign media colleagues, well, they find it foreign too. This is what they point out. So there is room for discussion. What can be done? Implementation of directive is more important. I agree. I can't see systemic safeguards. At the end of the day, this is a politician or an institution or a judge But the question of system and social attitudes that you were speaking about, we are in a different situation compared to what happens in the world. Slums are a part of a big system, together with activists and institutions, including state-owned television, that is orchestrated by politicians. So the whole ecosystem that resulted in the pressure on independent journalists and activists. It's difficult to pinpoint one or two slaps because it was associated with online hate and arguments that were required from state institutions. It's much broader in Poland. We are at a lawyers' conference, so let me refer to Ombudsman's Office experience that I have. Very strong change that has been unrecognized. The language, the narrative change. We can block this kind of behavior by narrative change, by discourse change. We should never forget about small things. If we tell people, these are things that pertain to you, you've been to demonstration, you paid a fine, you'll never go again. This is slap. You are a subject of chilling effect. If these are editorial houses, we use the language of martyrs because they taught us so. But we need to remember about people who know it, although they cannot name it. Slap is done in the language that is too difficult to comprehend for people. It's sealed off. And people's attention span is pretty short. It makes it difficult to decipher what is written. People are attacked for using their constitutional rights, for speaking in public, for doing things that the state is rooted in, because otherwise will be helpless. The state attacked people who offered aid to Ukraine that was defending. We need to tell this. The more local it is, I'm not a big editorial house. I'm not a famous person, so should I care? Yes, you should, because this is the story about such people. We understand that slap pertains to freedom of speech. We've got tools to relate it. It's all about you. What is important to show people who responded to this, who posted. Lubartów near Lublin is a town that I've got a story to tell you. People protested against draconian abortion law, a gigantic group of people. The police came. There was uncertain situation because never before have they spoken, the people of Lubartów. The commander came to the center. You are using the right to convene. We are here to protect you. Take care. That was enough. And a policeman in Gdańsk, there was fuck peace case, and the court interrogated about slogans. My task was to provide freedom of conventions. I was not listening to them. They can shout out whatever they wish. So these are the heroes. We need to see those heroes. It's very difficult. Finding such people who don't know that they are heroes, they've done something regular, but they are heroes. It's a key thing. I've been coping with this. I don't know how to do it. They are heroes. They've never appeared in my text because they will never agree to tell their story. They say, I've never done something wrong. They've done regular things, and they are heroes. We started with legal things. We talked the problem that is associated with abuse of legal instruments, but I can see that discussion shows it's a serious social problem. Media, journalists, activists staunching press criticism is what you said here. Because we speak about legal actions that were financed by public, from public resources. Many institutions will apply for money, European money. Companies also. And according to today's regulations, they are obliged to say that they observe the Human Rights Charter's provisions. So we, citizens, media, activists, should we do anything here to show that this is a problem? Those who use public money and want to use European Union money, take up these activities. So grants, when given to an organization, we should check it, verify it, because these grants might be used to slap activists. We are speaking about the media, but media is not related to media only. This is not the media only. The general public, organizations, activists are attacked. English abbreviation, strategic lawsuit against public participation, is the abbreviation. So this is strategic lawsuit against activists. Ecologists and green movements and others. Orban uses some other mechanism to do similar things, to take over media market. In Poland, it had a specific form of attack on media, and what Agnieszka is speaking about, harassment with different allegations of petty crimes against people who protested. And European Union solutions is what we return to. Organizations that use slap of all kinds should not be given EU grants, or should come low in the ranking. But bearing in mind what happened in Poland in 2015-2024, I'd like all the institutions and ministries and concerns controlled by the state to be audited when it comes to spendings on legal issues, so that we learn how much money was spent on media attacks, activists. Who pays for that? What was the result? What was the outcome? We're trying to learn that. Some of the information is concealed, unavailable even for people working in ministries. So probably it was public money that was transferred to befriended legal houses. Thank you. Wojtek, do you want to add anything? I'm thinking about systemic activities, about checking who was the most frequent slapper and now applies for EU grants. A simple script is required to get some information. It is not complex. This might be a solution. We speak about slaps in the media context. We all represent media of this or that kind. We face this problem. Media problem in Poland is polarization. It's difficult to have one voice of the environment, of the milieus, because if we propose anything sitting here in Czerska Street, it is unacceptable for Polish Journalists Association and other. So what to do about this? Legal discussion, implementation of what is happening at the European level. Somebody should monitor slaps. Which slaps are real slaps, which are not. I believe that not all claims and requests are slaps, because, journalists might make mistakes. They make quite a few mistakes. So we should be reasonable and decide, have a look, which are justified and which are pure harassment. I have no idea how to do that, frankly speaking. I understand. I see you, Wojciech. I see you, Roman. The audit, that is a necessity. We don't have the audit, so public information access is a question because we, citizens, can have this information. We're entitled to that. And we can remove the notions from court. Wojtek initiated something, and I want you to hear it out. It's not that divided journalist milieus is complaining about themselves. They feel sorry for themselves because they want to have different rights from foreign colleagues have. No. We want to work normally. We would like to use our constitutional rights of our viewers. With this provision that there is no intimidation objective to close down, to go bankrupt, to staunch criticism. Friendly is too much to say. We'd like to have a neutral ecosystem because there's a natural collision between the authorities and journalists. We should be watchdogs, and those in power don't like it. This is what Wojtek said. Previously we had slaps, and he was in court cases. He was responding in court cases on many occasions. But, you know, politicians, institutions, government-owned media should not break our laws and the laws of our viewers who deserve robust information that has been fact-checked and verified. We have a time perspective compared to what happened in the 8-year period, but this slap started a big machine. There is a the topic, government media, the befriended portals repeated, and hate online. This is a vicious circle. A journalist, this or that journalist, feel blackmailed, intimidated, and there's the chilling effect. When we have big media corporations with bigger capital, which means bigger protection, this chilling effect is smaller. They publish, but local activists may have this problem. It's to the detriment of broadly defined civic society. And we have a number of tangible stories that can be quoted about local people. Agnieszka is right saying that freedom of speech is symbolic. It's difficult to personalize, but at the end of the day, this is a particular person who works locally. They wait for information, or they get the information which makes them take to streets and protest. There is no healthy civic society without this information and the rule of law that we care so much about. We do not request any rights. We just want to have our rights respected. We, as journalists and activists, there is a certain reciprocity that things do not go unpunished, unnoticed. Institutions should use the tools that they have without blackmailing or intimidating editorial houses. We are not over the law. We have always been sued. Sometimes we've lost. It's a regular thing that happens to media all over the world. Sometimes they lose. But it was a pre-planned and scrupulous activity, the whole campaign, a technological order. Maciej Świrski started, and public institutions and state-owned companies were used, public media, state-owned media, pro-government portals, trolls on Twitter. This is the natural environment for journalists. It was chain of activities. Never before have we had it past 1989.
Bardzo żałuję, że
From my perspective, I can say that one litigation was not submitted, although announced by Prime Minister Morawiecki following our feature informing that he purchased some land from a parish in Wrocław at affordable and low prices. Then the parish vicar reached a major position during the Law and Justice rule. The Prime Minister and his wife announced they would sue Gazeta Wyborcza for not telling the truth. Former Prime Minister, we have been waiting for this litigation because I suppose we could learn a lot about it. Since we are among journalists, I would like to pay attention to the significance of institutions. However, we need to remember that the sanitary office, Sanepid, released some information about Marta Lempart's positive COVID test, and they didn't do anything. They revealed a person's, an individual's medical data. However, the power wanted to use Sanepid just to clarify, this institution is responsible for ensuring, observing sanitary conditions. However, its service was used to punish people. The power wanted to do the following thing. The police was sharing some notes to Sanepid, and proceedings were initiated. The cases were sent to administrative courts. A police note is not a proof. The story I told you from Lubartów continued. Since police refused to follow the activist, there was litigation amounting to 30,000. The activist had not been working, but then the police submitted a note, and Sanepid knew it would all go in vain. The police people were invited to the office for interrogation, for kind of hearing. But the case was blocked. Every time we can see the authorities try to tame independent institutions, we should be shouting out loud. Our data can be released, our personal data can be released, and nobody does anything about it. Coming back to what Agnieszka has just mentioned, we decided to follow in a specific way. We were wondering and considering how to inform about SLAPs, how to approach them from the journalist's viewpoint. We decided it would be most effective to describe specific cases. We added one component, new judges. There were many litigations sent to the Supreme Court, and only 2 or 3 judges were in charge, including Mr. Zaradkiewicz. We once described his past, so we can say we are in conflict of interest, and their statements were favorable for the authority. Informing how important it is that it's not only a kind of discussion, but that it's a threat to civic society as it applies to journalists and activists is pivotal. Whenever I participate in international conferences, journalists ask how to deal with it. Lawyers are pivotal because it all boils down to courts or to administrative proceedings. But educating people and telling what SLAPs are, as well as how dangerous for the media and for civic society they are, is, in my opinion, crucial. This is also indispensable. We've got 5 minutes left, so the question goes to the audience, if you have any questions.
Dominika Bychawska-Siniarska, ja bardzo dziękuję za tą interesującą dyskusję.
Thank you very much for the interesting discussion, Dominika Siniarska. Hoffman's case, just to highlight what kind of action that was, I was, unlucky to comment it for press. The following day, a former journalist working for the agency called me asking whether I wanted to correct the feature. I was working for a major legal NGO, so I said, thank you, but I'm not interested. As for the statistics, on behalf of the working group, I would like to say it's a major challenge for us to collect them. I have to appreciate Mr. Rogowski, who is a lawyer. We enjoyed excellent and exemplary cooperation with him. That's why we managed to collect statistics. Such a relationship is not always possible. We do not always get such information. So I would like to appeal for sharing such data. I know it's business sensitive, but it's pivotal. And a request and question to Mr. Cieśla. You are pioneers in Reporters' Shield. Could you share some details of what it looks like in practice? It's important for some organizations. What costs it entails and what does the process look like? Let me start with Reporters' Shield. It was established only last year, which means it's quite a new thing. It's easy to contact them. You can use their website and find their contact data. I cannot mention any specific aspects of such insurance, as it's always tailor-made for those who want to become insured. I represent small independent organizations, so their budgets are different than those of big commercial media. I suppose it's somehow negotiable. The process takes a few months. It's like standard due diligence. That's at least my experience of a small organization, where we are and who we are. One of the cases we're dealing with is the litigation from Mr. Hoffman and his colleagues' former company. Following the tax, the features mentioned by Roman, they had to split, and their reputation has been damaged. People don't want to do business with them, and Central Anti-Corruption Office is following in their footsteps. They sued Jacek because of on many grounds. I was sued for 400,000 zlotys. Jacek Harłukowicz, that case was abandoned, but they don't want to give up on our case. Knowing how the feature was prepared and that we fact-checked, I feel I'm on the safe side. But knowing that the litigation is for 400,000 is not the thing that helps me sleep well. We get slaps and it affects our functioning. It's not nice. We work under trauma, under stress. Fortunately, there are such initiatives like Reporters' Shield. This is a kind of initiative to secure journalists. There are other ones to strengthen journalists at the emotional level. When you get your 20th slap, it's really hard to keep calm and carry on. There are some components that keep us stronger. Two things, and the third one I've forgotten. that there is problem with information about slabs. Right, because litigations and corrections were nothing to be proud of. Every investigation is a controversy. It's a potential subject of litigation or correction. That's how it works. That's investigative journalism. There was a competition for journalists in Poland concerning features on corruption. There were controversies about the winning feature, and that was the end of the competition. It shows how such cases had been approached. I'm very happy that the situation has changed and that we've been discussing it. Konrad Siemaszko from Helsinki Human Rights Foundation. I'm very happy that we have about implementation of the direction of the role of journalists. We're going to discuss it during successive panels, but I would like to say we initiated some conceptual work on the assumptions of implementing anti-SLAPP directive. We don't want it to be a copy-paste solution, but to be an effective solution. That's, however, the trigger, but it will not become an effective anti-SLAPP regulation if people who experience SLAPPs are not involved. Taking the opportunity, I would like to invite you all to join our discussion. We do believe it should be started as quickly as possible. We have some time for implementing the legislation, but the main actors, if they are involved, we believe it's going to be implemented earlier. Referring to what Mr. Imielski said, I would also like to appreciate Piotr Rogowski's contribution. Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you very much for your participation.
Zapraszamy na kawę.
And it's time for coffee.
Dzięki wielkie. Najciekawiej mówi Agnieszka. Muszę to przyznać.
Dziękuję.